Keep that vibe from side down.
You right there, ladies and gents. How's it going? So not used to turning this bike. It's so much harder than on the KTM. I haven't been out on this properly for a while, so I thought I'd give it a little leg stretch. It's now MOT'd and taxed and all happy and joyful. I've got it booked in for a service, its annual service, with Baldrick, who's the man who knows all about the goodies. I'm sick of main dealers, and seeing as this is out of warranty, there's no reason to grease their greasy palms with my cash. It's a beautiful day, but it's still pretty chilly. I'm not all textiled up like I normally am on the KTM, and I'm not suffering for it at the moment, but it might be a bit chilly later. I'm only popping over to Box Hill for some lunch. I had thought about going to Berry or Boxenberry or stuff like that, but I've got a big ride tomorrow on the KTM, although that will have already been posted up by the time this one is shown, so I'll not go into that because you'll have already seen it. I've had a little play with the levers on this. The clutch wasn't right, and because it's quite a heavy clutch on these, being cable and quite mechanical, you need all the leverage, and I had the span adjusted on my lever right down to the shortest length, and giving it the full length means I've got a little bit more leverage on it, which makes it a little bit lighter on my hands. I've also adjusted the length the clutch is out on the span adjuster, is that not, I don't know, on the innie-outie adjuster, whatever that's called, and put the biting point of the clutch a little bit further away from the bars, which makes the gear changes a little bit easier, and actually seems to make it a little bit easier to get into gear, or out of gear rather. It's never been a problem getting it in gear, but putting it into neutral has been a right bitch recently, and I'm guessing that that means that my clutch is getting a little bit worn and stuff, so it needed a little tinkle. It's really weird how quickly you forget how to ride a bike compared to another bike, but then how quickly you remember. Although I'm not hustling this along as fast as I used to, mainly because of the coldness in the air and chilly tyres, but it all comes back. I've done a good few miles on this, 2,500 miles around Europe, was not to be sneezed at, and then had a track day around Brands GP, as well as all the exploratory miles I've done on this. It's been up to Scotland with me, it's been over to Plymouth and Cornwall, so it's been all over really. It's a good little bike indeed. It's done me alright. I keep wondering if it's a bike I could ever sell. I think it's a little bit too customised with the Star Wars style theme that it's got going on with it, and that might detract from its value to other people, and that's kind of a bit annoying. Yeah, and there's no point getting it sprayed up again if I was to sell it to suit someone else, because they might not like the colour I get it painted. So it's a tough one. It is a tough one. That's the thing with customising bikes, is that you customise it to your taste, as opposed to something that would sell. And I never really have any plans to sell this bike. All the while it works, I'll ride it, and the moment it stops working, it doesn't really become a viable thing to sell as a going concern as it is. I mean, like, the wheels would be worth more than a non-runner, I imagine. So yeah, I mean, I guess the framework and stuff, it's all stuff that allow someone else who's a customizer or has aspirations to do things to a bike that hasn't been done on someone else's. It would allow them to have it as a starting platform for anything, but they'd all still want to change the paint probably. The only problems I've ever had with this have been with the clutch, and that was worst when I was in Europe around Monaco, where the traffic was horrible but it was hot, and I was getting a lot of clutch slip. But I don't really seem to get that too much anymore. It might be just because it's colder weather, don't know. The clutch seems very sensitive on this bike for adjustment. It's got to be just the Goldilocks sort of situation where your porridge has got to be just right, or whatever it was that she was eating. Yeah, if you have the cable too loose, it's hard to get out of gear. If you have it too tight, it slips. And these levers don't help either, because of the shape of them. Although they were marketed for the V7, and they fit quite nicely, this angle here is different from the standard levers, and that means that you lose a chunk of your span, which makes them even more finicky to get adjusted right. But it seems okay at the moment. When I get to a junction that I have to stop at, possibly this one, I'll see if I can get it into neutral. Yep, piece of cake getting into neutral. So I've obviously adjusted that just right now, which is nice, because the gear change on it was really bugging me. Oh, it's so nice having blue skies. It's been grey on most of my rides recently, and having the sun out and the roads dry-ish makes for a far nicer ride. And although my textiles are lovely, I really do like them, it's really nice to just be in my jeans. Yeah, okay, safety police might not concur, but I rode around Europe wearing what I'm wearing now. Although I didn't have trainers on, I had some combat boots, and it was awesome. It was so liberating to be out on a bike with bugger all in the way of luggage or anything like that. And I was camping as well. I mean, like, I had the tiniest tent known to man and a sleeping bag, which I kind of rolled up and strapped to the back of the seat. And I just wore my 5i1s. I did bring some thermal undies, those good old little jobbies that you get whenever they do the bike sale stuff. They're awesome, they are. And I had my old biking hoodie, which I've relegated to now my old spannering hoodie, because it's so knackered. I only use that now really when I'm in the garage or haven't done any washing for a bit, and it's the only thing I've got left that's clean. Something that is really weird is I don't know if I get many of my Guzzi subscribers watching any of my KTM videos or not, and I don't know whether I get any of my KTM subscribers watching any of my Guzzi videos. But the brake on this, the rear brake on this, is absolutely amazing. I mean, the front isn't anything to write home about, but it's a cruiser. It's not a sports bike, although it hustles along very nicely considering its horsepower and weight. But yeah, the rear brake on this is just, it really bites. Road ahead closed, you bastards. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, last time I came down this road it was covered in snow and I was on my KTM, which was hilarious fun, if a little precarious. But yeah, the rear brake on this is just awesome. Every single manufacturer that makes motorcycles has to look at the MotoGuzziV7's rear brake and go, yes, we're going to put that setup on our bikes, because it works really well. Now don't get me wrong, I mean, at times it could be deemed a little bit OP. I mean, it locks the rear wheel so easily But that's what a brake's supposed to do. When you put your foot on it hard, you want it to stop. I don't know why it's so difficult for bike manufacturers to get rear brakes to work. My Triumph Speed Triple 1050 was just as bad. That was fucking horrible. I even ended up replacing the master cylinder on that, thinking that was the problem, but it wasn't. It was just shit. Admittedly, the main reason I replaced the master cylinder was because I smashed the first one, thinking that knee down in January was a good idea on roundabouts. Twat. Yeah, so I used the rear brake on this a lot, although it's got awesome engine braking, so you don't need to really use it on sort of normal riding. But I find it's really good for helping control the rear end and having a little bit of fun, doing a little bit of excess braking. Always adds giggles, smiles per miles. But yeah, the brake on the KTM is as good as useless. Yeah, I mean, I think it's dangerous, especially when teamed up with the ABS that the bike's got, which is a pretty crude system, I think. I mean, I don't know much about ABS on bikes, other than that the ABS I had on my Kawasaki ZX636R was absolutely amazing. Yeah, the ABS on my KTM is a bit poop and cuts in a little bit too soon, I think. But what that means is that even though the rear brake isn't capable of locking the wheel, the ABS is cutting in even earlier, thinking, oh no, you might lock the rear wheel. It's like, no, it won't. Let me fucking put some brake pressure on. I want to slow down. I don't want to speed up. I mean, I'm a fan of ABS. I think it's brilliant as long as it's switchable, so you can turn it off when you want. And the KTM, in theory, has got a really nice touch where you can keep the ABS on the front wheel and turn it off the rear. And that's something that I might look into doing. The downside is that the ABS on the KTM switches back to default full on whenever you turn it off and turn it back on again. So you've got to sit there and piss around with the settings every fucking time you ride the bike if you want to turn it off. They're riding in the winter, I mean, I'm not pushing the bike particularly hard, so it doesn't really affect the price of fish too much. But in the summer, I want it to be on the setting that I put it on, and it's to stay there. Yeah, okay, give me a little warning on the dashboard telling me that ABS is off, or you're in supermoto mode or whatever, that's fine. But don't switch back to the default shit version whenever I turn the key off. By the way, you can probably hear that I've fitted the stubby non-silenced exhaust pipes back onto this bike now. The bike seems to feel better on them. That might be in my brain, I don't know. But it just seems nicer on them. I don't mean the noise, although the noise is a cacophony of delight to my eardrums. The bike just seems to pull away better. No, I never got the opportunity to test out a top speed run utilising the original standard silencers versus the stubby ones. I'm kind of a bit annoyed that I didn't get the chance to do that. I mean, I've still got the can, so it's not like it's not something I can do in the future. But it would be interesting to see if it's in my head. And this definitely seems to have lost sort of about 5 or 10 mile an hour off its top speed with these short cans on it. But the performance part of the pipes, which I actually use, is the mid-range and the bottom end. Really, it's only on the longer journeys where I'm sitting higher in the rev range when munching some miles of speed. And I don't really want to be doing over 100 mile an hour on this anyway. I mean, on the road you're going to get bad, and I don't do enough track days to require all that extra oomph in real time, in real life. That was a bit of a motor mouth there. I don't know how much of that I'm going to have to cut out, because obviously you lot don't watch long videos, and 15 min is about all your attention spans can deal with. And straight into neutral. Well, that is Rykers done. I had a good old cheeseburger, some chips and a cup of tea, and I'm feeling of an elegant sufficiency in my belly. And now it be time for me to head home. I waffled on so much on the way up here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this one into a 15er, so we shall see. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified when I post more videos that you might enjoy. If you like this video, give it a little thumbs up, and if you didn't, give it a little thumbs down. It's all good, I don't mind. But whatever you do, please drop in a comment. Let me know what it was that you liked and what it was that you didn't. That way I can try and improve my videos by maintaining the stuff you enjoy and removing the stuff you don't. Anhowzles, take care, ride safe, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye for now.
Keep that rubber side down. You know, you gotta keep that bike rubber side down.